Hey, welcome to HVAC and Home Services podcast, where we uncover successes, secrets, and some stories behind successful businesses. I'm your host, Pam Mashburn, and today we're joined by a really special guest, Jason McMurray, and he is from Air Comfort Services in Blountville, Tennessee. And we're excited to have him on here. Jason, tell us about Air Comfort Services, how it got started, what you guys are doing today.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on, Pam. And I've actually been working for myself for 20 plus years and have just ventured out in the past 2 or 3 years of growing my business and actually have done no marketing whatsoever, really just word of mouth. And now that I'm actually growing my business, we're really trying to go in and do stuff in a lot deeper angle of the stuff that I've ever tried to. So I'm out of my comfort zone, but I am I've hired on 8 new guys in the past 2 years. Business has
Wow.
doubled. And of course, we've just, like I said, using you all for marketing and some other tactics that we've implicated in our business. But really just I've always had a very, I guess you could say, one-on-one with the customers that I've had, and I'm trying to keep that same model, but in a bigger format for my business. Everything has really
Yeah, I love
been,
that.
yeah, and a lot of it has just been, kind of filling it out and trying some different stuff, and of course, using you all, I was, doing any type of marketing. It was always scary for me to spend the money, but in a small period of time, I've already started seeing my phone ringing a lot more and a lot more action going. So I'm very hopeful for the future right now.
Well, I appreciate the plug for Explore HVAC. That was great. I couldn't have planned that better. But we love work. You're one of our favorite clients because you just have so much energy and you have done a lot of growth. And I love the fact that, you know, when you're doing digital marketing, if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't help because there's so much competition. They still have the choice of saying, there's 3 guys that Google's going to show me, and I still got to pick one of them, and they like to pick you guys. And so it makes for easy work for us because you are a well-known brand in your area. Okay, I'm going to go to question number 2. Jason, I was just saying about how um, it's easier to do digital marketing when people are already branded out there. It's known before needed, and you have a really loyal customer base. What would you say has contributed the most to getting that loyal customer base?
Well, when I first started doing business, it was a lot of friends and family, and then it was their friends and so on. And my outlook on the business side of it, it's too easy to try to get along with your customers and get almost like a friendship with them. I always left every job thinking I want these people to look at me as, that they've known me all my life type situation, to where
Hmm.
I've got a lot of loyal customers and I have picked up a lot of new customers, and that was one of the parts that I kind of missed now that I'm out of the field, is, the one-on-one with the customers. And so I really preach to my guys about, really keeping that tone and keeping that relationship with each and every customer. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback through you all because of now that I'm exposed on Google, and I'm getting some good reviews and stuff. So stuff that I would have probably never got outside my comfort zone and would have really done. But y'all gave me enough nudge to see that it actually works outside of just handing somebody a business card or my whole thing was always just at the end of the job, I gave them a magnet card to stick on the refrigerator and kept my fingers crossed. And but a lot of that has paid off. But now that that we're adding on extra stuff, it's really put it into a fast forward motion for me.
Right. Yeah, because now you have to scale right? Because you can't be
Yes.
at every job.
Exactly. And a lot of times it's one of those, I've tried to get it where I'm not writing just on my name. I want to write on my business brand, and that is actually working out better for me than what I thought, because I thought for sure there'd be a lot of customers be like, no, I want Jason there. But now that I'm getting a lot of good feedback from my customers because of some of the opportunities y'all gave me through text messages and through campaigns, I'm getting a lot of that. So, and a lot of customers are like, well, this is good. You're keeping in touch with us, and it's good to hear from you and stuff like that. So it reassures me that things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I think it's going in a great direction. And, you know, now that, I mean, you are the personal brand of, Air Comfort Services as the owner, but since you can't be at every job, what do you think makes Air Comfort Services unique from all the other um, HVAC businesses out there?
I, Me personally, I'll always want to be, as an owner, I want to be available for my customers. Whenever when things get sticky, I want to be the person come in and give them the answers, and give them the comfort that it's going to be taken care of no matter if I'm not there or not. And I'm really doing I try to do a good job of that, of after we install a unit, following back up with the customer just with a phone call, say, hey, just checking, see if we left any of our tools, or how's everything working. And just because, to me, the old way of doing things, I'm right in the middle of the new way and the old way. And I still think in today's world, communication's everything. And a lot of times I feel like that's the
Absolutely.
easiest thing I can do is communicate, even if I cannot be there right then, or we cannot fix it, at least letting the customer, just where they're not out in left field. So we're doing a really good job of that, promoting, just information all the time. That way
I know.
they're not, well, I don't know if he's going to be here Monday or Wednesday. I tried to, I'm more OCD about stuff like that. So I don't see how businesses make it without doing that, I guess. So I would like to know how, but I don't think
Mm.
it's possible.
Well, I think you can do it, but I don't think you do it as well. And
Right,
and I think what we're seeing with your business and the results that you've been getting is that we've just been able to build upon the success that you've already done with the communications, and the fact that you're continuing with it and training your
right.
guys on that. Is that something that you interview for when you're is like communication skills? Do you like look at that when
I,
you're hiring these techs?
well, I've always been told that I can talk to a fence post, but you should have to be if you're in sales. So, and sometimes I overtalk, and but I get in with people and customers, and all of a sudden I find out the world's not as big as what it was when you start talking about stuff. You're finding common ground with customers. So I try to preach that with my guys, that But yes, when I'm interviewing and talking to these guys, I'm feeling them out, how they're responding to what I'm asking them, and their personality. And but
Hmm.
that is very important to me, because I don't need anybody to, I've never wanted anybody to go out. I want them, I've been very blessed, because everybody I've got, they were seem to be raised good, and they're yes ma'am, no sir. And I was even praising them about that this morning. I'm like, don't ever let that go, because that is more important to, like, the older generations of people. They still want that respect, and they want, and it's good, and it should never fade away. That should always be a top priority for businesses, to just have a utmost respect for the customer, and they're going to have respect for you, and probably use you over anybody else, just because of your personality and how you treat them and stuff. So
I love that. I love that. Um, there's a lot of things I can tell that you're proud of with your company, but if you had to name one thing about your company that you're most proud of, your team or something within the company, what would you say you're most proud of?
uh I guess, and I don't, I've never been a really proud person, because the way I was raised, it was always, if I pat you on the back, you may get lazy. So, but I try not to tell my guys all the time. So that was the way my dad was. So I carry that on with, I try to give praise where praise is due. And then, kind of, I always tell my guys, I was like, I'm not, I'm not riding you or giving you a hard time. It's because I've been through this. I've been down this road, and I want them to feel like that they're self-employed and be working for me in the same sense. And I feel like that a lot of that's helping out. Well, and I just feel like that, just me trying to introduce the way that I've always done business to my guys, they are adapting that. So
Yes.
there's a little bit of this down inside. It makes me smile, but I try not to let them know, hey, you're doing it perfect, or, because I want them to always try to some cases better themselves, because you can get stale in what you're doing even though you enjoy it, and you got to keep it interesting, keep it exciting for the guys. So
Yeah.
they seem to be a little bit of a hop in their step and stuff, a little bit more how we're doing our pay and stuff like that, and we make it interesting for them. And I've that part is just trying to establish the way that I used to do things, and it's still carrying on. That's what I'm so proud of, is because that's always been my biggest fear is, I'm trusting a 20-year-old when I'm 50-year-old, and I've done all this groundwork, and then they go in. So I've not had any negative feedback. So that has been wonderful. I'm not saying it won't, but I'm just saying that if we do, we try to make it better just immediately. So that's the part that I'm proud of, is just trying to keep the integrity of what I started out on, and not changing, and just turning a blind eye to my customers, and making sure that they know I'm there no matter what.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you are in a difficult position as an owner because we have a different kind of workforce now than what we had, 50 years ago. So you've got to
Yes.
kind of have a servant heart towards your employees as well as with your clients. And so
Yes.
that's a tough place to be. Um, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit and ask you this. What's one thing you wish every homeowner knew before they called an HVAC company?
Any HVAC company, or just me?
Any HVAC company.
Well, if they knew the importance of, basically, I would imagine, the importance of just, I guess, having maintenance done on their units on a regular schedule. If they knew that, there's, believe it or not, it's, you know, people will neglect their heating and air, and, of course, they'll make sure they get their car, tuned up every 3,000 miles like clockwork, but sometimes it drags over. Heat pumps are the same thing. I feel like if they knew the importance of that more, that it would probably extend the life of their heat pumps, and as long as they're being serviced at least once or twice a year. I feel like that I have a lot of that people are like, and I'm guilty of that also. I go somewhere and somebody tries to sell me something else, but this is just laying a set of eyes on something that we look at every single day, and we're like, hey, you may have this going on, but a lot of times they wait till it breaks and then calls, and then it's worst case scenario. So if they knew ahead of
Right, right.
time that they should do that, and I'd say it's probably a 50-50 that the population that does it.
Interesting. Interesting. I think yeah. I think the whole maintenance thing is something that we know we need to do, but it just kind of slips our mind. But then when it breaks, we go, gosh, when was the last time somebody was out here? Right? Isn't that what you do?
Right. Yes.
Um, you've been in the business for how long have you been in the business? Did you say
23
17
years,
years? No,
23 years
23.
employed for myself. Yes.
Wow. So, how have you seen homeowners' expectations change over the last few years? Or have you? Or is it always been the same? Or do you think that homeowners have different expectations now?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because it blows my mind of the expectations, because to me, I think they're low, because a lot of times I get praised just for saying, "Oh, we weren't expecting y'all to be here, this soon," or "You all actually called and said you're on your way," or "Y'all did show up," or "Y'all did call back. I called three other companies and I haven't heard back from them." To me, I don't understand that, because I'm thinking that's the simple things. Doing the work is the hard stuff. So I think people's
Right.
expectations are lower than they are higher. The only thing I see different in the past from where I started to now is people are wanting it done quicker. That's it. Other than that, it's the communication process. And to me, that's everybody's got cell phones, everybody's got computers, everybody's on the internet. Pretty simple to shoot a text message or a quick call and say, hey, we're on our way. Or, hey, I need to cancel. It's not like the days where you had to call and leave a voicemail and somebody had to be at the office to check it. And so to me,
Oh yeah.
my expectations to get it done quicker is on myself. I make that because the urgency of now it's cell phones and people are like, well, he just answered it, so he's available. And used to it wasn't that way. If you called, you knew you were going to wait 2 or 3 days. Now it's those are the only expectations done quicker, but the one I'm expecting something major, but the customers, my feedback is, man, that's y'all are really communicating with us good. We knew exactly when you was going to be here, and we didn't have to wait around for 3 hours. To me, that's golden because I think people are wanting to be on the go all the time, and they don't want to have to wait on somebody like us.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know. It is a world that I thought with COVID, when it happened, everybody kind of slowed down and reset. But I think we reset and we're going faster than we were before COVID, seems
Right.
like.
And I was
Um,
busier and I was busier during that time, but that was because everybody was stuck at home and realized they had problems during the day versus at night time and got shifted over. So that kind of changed, but their expectations weren't as, like I said, it's not being awful. It's just been an even kill.
I'm a business owner, and there's a lot of people listening to the podcast that are business owners. And you've really done a phenomenal job of growing your business. What are some business lessons that you've learned? Like I know communication is a big one for you. What are some
Right.
other things that you've learned as far as running a business?
Well, the only way that I have really learned what I have learned is it's not been reading it in the books. It's just been experience being on the jobs. I think that anybody that is actually, it really doesn't matter what you do for a living. I feel like that if you work in the business, which most people do, but some people are inheriting a business and they've never worked in the field. So
Mm,
I've gotten to see it from ground up. But as far as like certain things that I feel like that I have customers that may complain about being overcharged for certain things. Like way I've always done it, if I was out there and it was something that I should have done or should have fixed or that I overlooked, that where I'm getting at this is I would not overcharge people like nickel and diming them to death. Nobody wants that. If we were just out there last week, we're coming out there on our own dime. If it's something that you haven't having a constant problem with, every time I send somebody out, you're not being charged on that, and that is something that I think they won't say anything because they're thinking, well, are they going to charge? Or are they not? And I always let them know, hey, this is on us. We're coming back out. We'll get to the bottom of it, and it may be something. And everybody, if they're honest in the heating and air, or probably any trade, they're going to say, "Hey, we overlook stuff, and it's human error, and it's usually some small
hmm
stuff." Prime example with me when I first started, I did not. I'd have so much business that I was trying to get everybody a people pleaser. What I try to do is try to get everybody taken care of in the quickest amount of time. So if you had a problem, I just came out and fixed the problem. I wasn't looking like what we're digging in now, doing the preventive maintenances, and I just didn't have time. And so most people didn't care. They had air
Yeah.
conditioning, they had heat again, and they were happy for the point. But my thing is if I had to go out a week later or a month later and they're still leaking Freon or anything, that is to me is a key thing is do not run your business so tight that you have to nickel and dime people. And I think that helps out for the callbacks because I get them all the
hmm
time. Well, that I've had to have them out here 3 times in the last month and a half, and it's been this charge, it's been this charge, and honestly, they never fix the initial problem, and that's human
hmm
error. It's not. It's just inexperience sometimes, and so my key thing is always what I've wrote on is, do what it's the old saying, do what you want somebody to do. You just back and forth. You don't want somebody to do
Right.
it to you, don't do it to them. And that's always worked for me. And, I've always had some people that have been worried about it and start getting excited about it before they let me do that. And then by the end of it, they're happy and so you can't go wrong just doing people right, and not that in our business
Yeah.
is all about charging them to death, and you just don't do that.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I know that everybody makes mistakes. I mean, it's we are human. We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think it's a real test of character on how you respond to the mistake.
Yes.
If you make a mistake and you own up to it and you go, I'm gonna make it right. I'm really sorry this happened. I think you can I think you actually can gain more respect from your client when you do that than just doing it right, you know,
Yes.
because it gives you the opportunity to one, be human. Not that you should go out and make mistakes, but
No.
but they're going to make it. But again, I think the true test of character is: do you deny the mistake and then charge them to come back out and do something else, or do you go, I probably should have caught this. Let me go in and deep dive. But I loved
Right.
what you also said about giving yourself some margin, and I
Yeah.
think that's something when you're in a growing business like right now at Explore Media, we are growing. And so everybody is just like, we've only got a little bit of margin to even think, and
Yeah.
so you can do it for a short time, but you can't do it for very long.
Right.
And I had somebody tell me the other day, and I thought it was really good advice. They said, it's always better to be overstaffed than understaffed.
Yes.
And
And I
and so, yeah, go ahead.
and I've been in that same situation. Um, like I said, I never thought I never really wanted to grow my business, and I never, I was fine with a couple people, but the way I look at it, and it's not me self promoting, it's not me patting myself on the back. It's the way I look at it. If whoever it is, if you do good work and you do what you say you're going to do, the rest will take care of itself, and it'll be
Yeah.
success. It will be success as long as you know you're not necessarily letting the business run yourself. You need to be running the business, and that's gave me an opportunity to step back and do that, to be the hawk on the limb watching the whole thing take place versus me focused on one thing, and I'm able to watch the whole thing. So and that gives me a little less anxiety, and I'm able to kind of conduct everything. Keep the train on the tracks.
Right. Well, I think it's a great service for the people in your community that you're growing your business, because what you're doing is you're basically making a team of people like Jason that have the same goals to service your clients the best way that you can. And that communication, I know we've talked about that a lot, but you just cannot do too much communication with clients, especially when they're
No.
waiting at their house, wondering where you are, and they're fanning themselves because it's so hot
Yeah.
or whatever,
Or they've had to leave
So
work. They've left
yeah,
work or whatever.
yep, exactly. So what if somebody was listening to this that doesn't know very much about HVAC companies? What would they be surprised to learn about running an HVAC company? Maybe it's something that surprised you.
Every day is a new surprise for me. Most of the time, it definitely, this business is, it's constantly changing, whether it's the EPA or if it's just the equipment or the technology of the equipment.
What do you foresee in the future?
Um, right now, we're actually going into a more of everything's going more efficient, more green, I guess you could say. The I feel like that probably me personally, I would say in the next 10 years that most heat pumps will have probably some sort of a communication that will send us text messages and let us know that something's going wrong, which that will help the process of getting more calls, because people are going to be like, oh, I'm having a problem, and it'll notify the homeowner, that'll notify us. But I think that technology will be the next great thing that it'll be in. It's already out, but it's more on the industrial side, commercial, heavy commercial stuff. Residential, I haven't
Okay.
seen much of it. Um, but we do more residential than anything. But yeah, obviously the Wi-Fi thermostats are, the biggest, thing. But they're starting a new type of a compressor, it's a inverter compressor. It's more of a throttling, um, more of a how I compare it is more of a like a car that you see your gas mileage going up and down as you're hitting your gas, it goes down. It actually saves more on your electric bill being a inverter compressor, so it throttles more so than it just turns on and
Oh,
runs. So that's going to be
okay.
that is all going that direction, and like the traditional heat pumps that you've seen, the square outside units and stuff, it'll be more of a smaller case, so more like a suitcase size outdoor unit. So, but
Oh,
yeah, so
wow.
and very very quiet. You won't even hear them running. They're just very very quiet. It's pretty amazing how they're doing it. But that right now is the next that all that is being introduced as we're speaking now and starting to already put some of that stuff in. So, but it's more of the
Interesting.
higher efficiency stuff though.
So, what do you think's next for air comfort services? What's your dream for that, and what are you most excited for your business, Jason?
Right now, the most exciting part is not knowing where the end of the road is or where the pinnacle is of all this. And honestly, I think is word of mouth, advertisement, doing good work, keeping the communication skills open. I feel like that, you know, by just the way that the phone's ringing and I am keeping up with like new customers and stuff, I feel like that we're on average. I did some calculations a while back, not exactly sure where they're all coming from, but we look like on a 7 day week, we're averaging at least a couple new customers a day, and for me,
Wow.
that's huge. And taking that on top of my customer base already for that I've had for 20 plus years. So, and we are growing leaps and bounds right now. I'm just right now. I don't know as far as workforce. I'm trying to do it on what workforce I've got right now, and I always tell my guys, I was like, I hope we keep getting busier. But I said, you're all going to have to. I said, there's 80 of you all, and I said, instead of us having 16 of y'all, I said, I'd like for all 80 of y'all to do 16 guys worth of work. And I said, then you make more money. So that all sounds
Yeah.
good, but that's kind of my goal is I want these guys here to be hungry enough for, that are working with me to want to strive and take it to the next level. And um, right now, not looking to be the biggest in our area, and we've got a 200,000 plus population where we're at, and in the Tri Cities, but it is
Yeah.
it's a growing area, and I feel like there's plenty of room for several companies to grow around here. But it all depends on your work ethic and what you're doing and how you get to people, and just like I said, speedy and just telling them you do what you say you're going to do. That's pretty much it. And I feel like that we're
Yeah.
moving in that direction quickly.
I love that. Well, I'm excited for you guys. I know that you're delivering excellent service to your folks, and I love just reiterating how important communication is in this business. So, hey, thank you, Jason, for joining us on Explore HVAC and Home Services on our podcast. Really enjoyed learning about your journey, getting your advice, and to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Remember to subscribe for some more insights, some stories, and some tips from leaders in HVAC and home services. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep on exploring.